I don't know if you do you have the stream on whenever we go?
Yeah, I usually do. I usually have it open in another tab.
Did you have it listening?
No.
Okay. Typically I do the Hearthstone like just menu music, and I had it like kind of pulled up, but I hadn't hit play yet. And when I hit play, instead of playing it, it played the music I had been playing on this computer, which was from like a week ago. Yeah, a week from yesterday. So not yesterday, but last Sunday when I was DMing D&D. So it was DM like D&D music just kind of playing. So it was very like traditional fucking like Ren Fair kind of music that was
Wait.
playing. I was like, you know what? We're just gonna let it ride. You know,
Yeah.
who cares? Um, we are finishing up the season with the rest of THL today. Well, THL season's not over. They will be, but we are finishing up our season in this week. That THL is finishing up the rest of that season. So we have successfully done six. Well, I guess we will after tonight have successfully done 6 episodes. We have some ideas for next season. We're going to be next season switching it up a little bit from time to time, doing some alignment charts, which was an idea for tonight that did not come to fruition, but that's okay. We'll get it going and make it work for next season. There's some pretty fun ideas with that. Um, we'll have some different topics, different themes. Probably branch out a little more into the THL realm, I would like to think, because we only got to do like one of those this time around. Um, but yeah, how do you feel like this has gone so far over five
Well,
weeks?
I feel like it's been a good start. Other than the fact that there were a lot more Hearthstone keywords, I think, than any of us anticipated before going into that episode. I feel like we've been hitting our stride and doing a good job. So I'm excited to keep it going, close out the season strong, and then come back next time with a fresh slate of topics and, just go beyond maybe the regular Hearthstone card ones.
Yes, and we got one more that we're gonna get started here. We are talking. This is honestly the perfect day. This was not planned in terms of like us getting a brand new free legendary tomorrow, but we're gonna be talking the free legendaries that are part of the set, but they are given out before the set releases. I'm explaining this with my hands, but you can't see them on the camera. Um, so we're talking like Blade Master Okani. We're talking Renathal. So these legendaries that everyone got access to a couple weeks to like a month before the set came out. We only have about 15 of them tonight, and we are going to be very, very blindly ranking Sir Hearth here without knowing the actual details of what this battle cry entails. But we're gonna do it, and we're gonna theory craft, and we'll figure it out. We'll save that one for last though. Um, so I thought we could just go in order. I'm guessing the order you put them in our folder is from newest at the top to oldest at the bottom. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So we're starting oldest to newest. So first up, right off the bat, we have Marin the Fox, 8 mana, 6/6 neutral. Well, I guess they're all neutral legendaries. Summon a 0/8 treasure chest for your opponent. Break it for awesome loot. Can you remind me what the loot was for this?
So we'll have to do a little thinking on these. But these were the same loots that you could get from Heist Baron Togwaggle a little bit later on
That's right.
in Rise of Shadows.
That's right.
So I'll pull them up here, but the first one I recall was Zarog's Crown, which was a 3 mana spell that discovered a legendary minion and summoned 2 copies of it.
Yep.
There was the Wondrous Wand, which had was 3 mana, draw 3 cards, reduce their cost to 0. This was probably the good one. Wondrous Wand was very good. Toland's Goblet, 3 mana, draw a card, fill your hands with copies of it. That was the funny one. And then the last but not least, the Golden Kobold, 3 mana, 6/6 taunt. Replace your hand with legendary minions. So pretty zany effects. And on
Yes.
an 8 mana 6/6 that made a 0/8 that you had to kill to get one of these, it was tough. But Mako, was this reward worth it?
Um, I'm gonna go with no, because this one was like right before when I started playing like a lot. And I mean it was in the game, but it was never played. I was just like, oh, why do I have this card from this set that I didn't play, and then never touched it. Um, for clarity's sake, we are going to be ranking these based on what we talked about beforehand, power level and was it funness to play,
Yes.
which seems to be the overarching theme across all of these. Um, Not powerful, and neither is it fun. If I had immediate access to these treasures, oh boy, would it be way more fun. But playing an 8 mana 6/6 to then have to destroy a 0/8 is not fun. And this is purely speculation on my part because I think I only actually ever played this card, but maybe a couple of times.
So I agree with you that it was not powerful,
Yeah.
but this card was extremely funny.
Okay.
And one of the reasons for this is that if you remember, Kobolds and Catacombs had this card that the priest got. There was Res Priest as the certain archetype that existed then. So
Yes.
going in, Obsidian Statue had just come out in Frozen Throne,
Yep.
and then Priest had Lesser Diamond Spellstone coming out in this
My
set.
my favorite. Yes.
So notably, this chest was summoned for your opponent.
Yep.
So if you were a Control Warrior enjoyer and a Control Priest hater, one thing that you could do that was pretty fun was put Marin in your deck,
Yep.
give them a chest, and suddenly the hopeless priest matchup would turn into just a cascade of fantastic treasures for you and marvelous loot. And the poor priest would just be crushed under repeated Toland's goblets and Zarog's crowns, and
Yeah.
it was a blast. But this card, like, it sucked though. Almost every other
So
matchup,
so one matchup.
but it was very funny, and you could
Okay.
basically hold your opponent hostage. So just for that, because
Okay.
this card design was funny and because these treasures were really novel,
Yeah.
I'm gonna push for rare for Marin, but
Okay.
definitely, I think honestly the weakest card here in terms of power level. It's the worst one for sure.
So hold on, time out. You're setting the standard by saying that this is the worst one that we have,
On
and you
power
want
level. On power level.
okay,
I
okay,
do not think
okay,
it is the least fun one, but it is the
okay,
least powerful, surely.
okay. I feel common for this. I don't feel like a singular matchup, being fun as it sounds, should elevate it from if this is the least powerful card, and it is very 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 least powerful. Like it's like basic level least powerful.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if the fun levels of one singular matchup bumps it from basic all the way up to rare. Fun as it may sound.
All right. You're just not a ladder terrorist like me. I'll have to accept it. We'll go common for
It's not
Marin.
even a
But
ladder terrorist because you don't bump into that matchup and then you just have this 8 mana 6/6 in your hand. You're like, oh, okay, I'm
you're a
dead.
control warrior, man. Just clear the board, right? Hang in there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Uh, Next up, we have Archmage Vargoth. At the end of your turn, cast a spell you've cast this turn. Targets are random. 4 mana, 2/6. What was the combo with this? There was a
Um,
there was a
at
nasty combo with this at one singular point in time.
Time Warp. So when our
Yeah, that's
Vargoth
right.
was released, it came out before the standard rotation. So Ungoro quests were in standard with Archmage Vargoth for one patch or part of a patch, just a
Yeah.
few days. And you were able to play this with Open the Waygate on turn 9 and
Yep.
Vargoth, or with Time Warp, and Vargoth would cast it again and give you multiple extra turns. So there was that fun sort of two-turn combo you could have with Quest Mage. Vargoth also was around at the same time as Oaken Summons, which was a pretty good card.
Yep.
You might remember that one in Wild if you are a Wild player. And yeah, this was just generally strong. Being able to repeat a spell was quite good, and even after its free release and through its time in Standard, there were lots of decks that used this card to good effect.
Um, this one for me is not one that I played with it a little bit, but it's not one that I play with a lot. It wasn't in any decks that I enjoyed playing with personally. It to me was on the lower end of the fun spectrum of things, but it was pretty strong. Um, to me, this feels like a rare or an epic, depending on what argument you can make for either of those factors. As someone who
Yeah,
probably played with this a lot more.
I'm at Epic or Legendary. I
Okay.
really liked Vargoth, and I think that I'm willing to hedge Epic just because I think that a lot of the combos were either pretty degenerate or pretty much like cheat Vargoth out of your deck, and then you get the cheat effect a second time.
Yeah.
Like if you remember Big Warrior, when they
Oh,
had
yes.
when it had a Dimensional Ripper. One of the good combos was you Dimensional Ripper and you get your Vargoth, and then you get another Dimensional Ripper off at the end
Yep.
of the turn.
I remember playing that exact combo. Yeah.
It was pretty sick, and yeah, it's like there was cool stuff, but you were kind of limited because of the whole one spell a turn for consistency. But really, really strong card, and Epic makes sense.
Yep. All right. Moving on. Uh, maybe one of my, if not my least favorite from this list in terms of cards to play against. Uh, Kel'Thas Sunstrider. Every third spell you cast each turn costs one. It is a 6 mana 4/7. I hated playing against this card. I hated playing against this card so much I refused to play it myself.
Well, I played it a lot. I liked. I mean,
Oh, I
I
believe
had
you did.
whenever this card was in the game, someone was having fun.
Yeah, it was you and it wasn't me.
Nah, it wasn't me all that much. This was I enjoyed this guy in my big warrior decks, but he was a good bit better in Inner Demon Demon Hunter
Yep, I
with
remember
that
that.
combo.
Yep.
And this was a cracked in half card, and there's a reason they tried nerfing it a lot of ways, and pretty much no matter how you shook it, keeping the spell at zero cost was just too good. So this is what
Yeah.
we're left with, and
Yep.
yeah. I think Kelthus is a rare for me, but this one is carried entirely by power level. I don't think it made for too many things that were fun or all that creative.
I agree. It's very, very far on that power end of the spectrum. Um, it's doing the exact same thing as Marin, right? But in the opposite.
Yes,
Yes.
they're
Yeah.
just polar opposites there.
What are you feeling for it? Rare,
Like I
epic,
said, rare. I think
rare.
rare is good.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Next up, Silas Darkmoon, 7 mana 4/4. Choose a direction to rotate all minions. I love this card. Oh
Yeah,
boy, I love this card. Flavor wise, it's so fun from a flavor perspective. Um, he looks like just a little fucking goober, you know. Um, it had its moments of being powerful. I I didn't like the combo setups with it. I as a warrior enjoyer, I played a little bit of the combo warrior, but I don't like the words combo and warrior being combined into the same kind of vernacular. Um, but I do really like this card. It was a fun, cool, like control tech tool. Um, yeah, I'm a Silas fan.
Me too. I'm legendary for Silas. I think the warrior combo with Soulbound Ash Tongue was very
God,
fun, even if it was a little cheesy. And there was
it's
always a
very.
niche use for this card. Like there were always reasons why you could want to play it while it was around in standard. And yeah, I was very happy with it, and I think it was super cool. Legendary seems like a good choice.
I'm 100% with you. He's a legendary boy. We're setting like we're very quickly like setting the standard here for what to expect in each of these ranks.
Yeah.
I'm very curious if anything even ends up in basic. If Marin is in freaking common, I'm very curious if anything ends up down here. Next up, Mankrik. 3 mana, 3/4. Help Mankrik find his wife. She was last seen somewhere in your deck. This is one of the most fun free legendaries, in my opinion. I mean, it's not like super fun interactive wise, but flavor wise, this is definitely cream of the crop. Just putting his wife just randomly in your deck to then summon, and she automatically charge face.
So I think that was actually Was that Olgra who was charging face, or was that Mankrik again? Because flavor wise, I thought she was dead, and that's why we got the other Olgra later. But maybe I'm just gaslighting
Mankrik's
myself.
wife. Whenever it was a you shuffled
Well, there.
Mankrik's wife into the deck, and then whenever she was drawn, she spawned on your board as a 3 mana. Originally, she was a 3 mana 3/10, but didn't
Well,
she?
no, no, no. She's dead. So the token Olgra Mankrik's wife, I'm looking at it right now,
Okay,
is is you find her and she's dead. And then Mankrik is mad and comes out of your deck to avenge or comes and spawns to avenge his dead
that's right.
wife and
That's
go
right.
face.
That's right. That's right. So he then becomes 3 mana 3/10, or
Yes,
well
and
3/7 eventually, right?
yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay. Still though,
It's
it's a
cool.
fun little like I don't know if I would call it like a side quest, but like it's a fun little like moment in the game. It was very when it was originally released, it was very powerful. Um, getting a 3/10 on turn 4 was just kind of nuts. I love Mankrik. I put him in decks he shouldn't have belonged in, just because.
I don't think there were many of those.
Yeah, well, you just drop a 3 mana 3/4 that sometimes spawns a 3/10, and it's like, I mean, it didn't. It felt like it didn't. Like there wasn't like many decks that it didn't just kind of like naturally just kind of sit in, as a nice little on curve 3/4 to play.
Yeah. And in Forged in the Barrens, Mankrik was just emblematic of lots of stats in a package that isn't super sexy, but get the job done and give you board. Like Rush Warrior, like that was just this expansion to a T.
Yeah,
And Mankirk was so good in so many decks. There was the field contact slash watchtower rogue or watchpost rogue that was a thing that really loved Mankrik. Face Hunter loved Mankrik. If your deck was running minions, you really wanted to play this card.
yep.
I personally can't say I found it quite as fun. I think that there were some cool things going on with sort of ways that you could sort of cheat the condition a little bit to go looking for Olgra's body a little bit more quickly.
Hmm.
And I thought that that was cool. So Like if we, for example, had gotten more time with Mankrik, say with like 2022 mechanics like Dredge,
Yeah,
I think that would have been pretty cool.
yeah.
But we didn't really get that so much in standard. So Mankrik's epic for me, but definitely like a cool card and really interesting design.
I'm fine with Epic. Um, I'm putting at the top of Epic though.
Sure.
Um, Next up we have Lady Prestor, 6 mana, 6/7. Transform minions in your deck into random dragons. They keep their original stats and cost. Hey, smirk all you want. She made one singular deck very good at a certain point in time.
This
And it
card is
was
just a
not when
clown.
it came out. It was definitely not when this card came out. Um,
What a
yeah,
clown fiesta.
yeah, yeah. Um, that was I don't even know. I don't even know how to put words to describe playing not just playing that deck, but playing against that deck. I think Clown Fiesta is the perfect descriptor.
Uh, we're giving this one. This is another common, but oh my god,
It's
this
definitely at the bottom. It's definitely at the bottom. It was fun though. Like that the deck, albeit stupid, was fun to play. Playing a bunch of like 1 and 2 mana dragons with these like kind of nutty battle cries was pretty fun.
there was the casino aspect for sure. You're just hoping you get the good ones, not the bad ones. But
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, I think that okay, maybe it like has to be bottom of rare, at least above Marin, because it is more sort of more
Like
powerful.
okay,
But
in like it was in one singular deck.
yes,
It's doing the Marin thing. It was good in one singular instance. And it wasn't even
hey,
like that strong, right? Like it was A
oh
B
yeah,
tier, like it was never S tier, like
oh yeah, it was just a stress test to play against.
yeah.
Then, yeah. But I did have some decent success with Quest Prestor Demon Hunter in the beginning of
Okay.
Stormwind. Was real. Just kidding. It wasn't real, but it was funny. You could do some fun stuff with it. So
It was
yeah,
real to you and that's what matters.
no, it wasn't. I just won more than half my games. That's
Okay.
I can promise you that.
Okay.
That's not promising a lot, but bottom of rare, I think, for Prestor.
Okay. Um Next up we have Drekthar. 4 mana 4/4. If this costs more than every minion in your deck, summon one of those minions. Now it didn't used to be one of those minions. It was two of those minions, correct?
Yeah,
Yep. Um Drekthar was well, it was one of two free legendaries at that time. I forgot that those came out at the same time.
they did. You had
Yep.
to choose.
Yeah, that's right. And then it locked you out of the other one until the set came out, right?
Yeah, you had to
Yep.
finish
That
the
was
battle pass to
yeah,
get the other one.
which was an interesting choice in hindsight. Um, because one of them was played and the other one was not, and I picked the one that was not. Um, Drekthar, I don't know, something like I know it's summon one. It's recruit, right? It's he's recruiting. It's the recruit keyword, but spelled out because it's not the set with recruit.
Right.
And there's
Yep.
something that just like tingles in my brain whenever the recruit mechanic like happens on screen. Whenever those cards like jump out of the deck and like flip over face up and land on the battlefield, there's just like something that like some neurons that fire off and like make me happy. Which is why I'm so happy that what Oaken Summons is that's the four that's the one we were literally just talking about last week. Yeah. So I was did not play this card a lot. It was not in decks that I quite enjoyed playing. I did play it a little bit. But I I'm an enjoyer of the recruit mechanic. Um Although I do know that this card was very, very, very strong because I played against it quite a lot.
Yeah. So I think this is the most powerful card on this list of all the cards we're going to review. I think pre-nerf Drekthar was the guy. He was him.
Okay, yeah.
And
Looking at the list, I had to go back and look at the list to see if I agree with that. And yeah, I know, I think you're right.
yeah, unless Hearthstone Brew has a surprise for us in store, I think
Who
uh
knows?
I think Drekthar takes that spot. For fun though, I don't know. This guy just ruined Hearthstone for like the first like or for a good chunk of Voyage of the Sunken City a little after it came out. And you just put this card in everything and it was crazy. I mean, if you want evidence, this card is the only thing that's ever carried me into top 10 legend. I did it on the back of Drekthar.
Interesting.
And if I can get there with Drekthar, then they probably don't have like numbers that are small enough for actual like strong players. So I think that like I just cannot for the life of me say that I found this fun, but it was so powerful. So where do we put it though? That's the question.
Uh, I still think it belongs in signature.
Wow. That's a take.
It's I don't know. There's one down here that I'm looking at that I think gets the signature treatment. Um, but like as I look at this list on here, there's only one singular card that I can think of that belongs to signature.
I can see three.
Three?
Then none of them are Drekthar.
I see one. I'm not saying Drekthar is the one that I see, but I only see one that I firmly think should probably be here in signature, unless we're throwing Mr. Hearthstoney in signature for funsies.
Nah.
Um, if not, just for its pure power level, if not signature, then legendary. Like I don't think it could go below that.
Okay, let's
Like
do
we're
it.
putting Silas in legendary just for pure like flavor or fun values, and then tech
Silas was
wise,
also
I know it was
powerful.
powerful, but it was not anywhere close to Drekthar powerful.
No, no.
Um,
Yeah,
okay,
I'll go for legendary for Drekthar, but chat, you guys are gonna have to do me a solid after the show, and we will put him where he belongs.
okay. Next up, I had such high hopes for Vandar. So 4 mana 4/4. If this costs less than every minion in your deck, reduce their cost by 3. I picked this one because I was and still am to this day, like a big deck enjoyer. Um, and the thought of reducing everything by 3, I was like, oh, this will be so much fun. And then like when I had access to the card, and I didn't ever get to really play the card very much, um, and dying very quickly to the likes of Drekthar, um, I I got disappointed. I love the art of the card. Um, I love the idea of it, but in practice, it just never seemed to work. Now I know there were some decks out there that ran this card and had success, but none of them were very universally successful. Um, to me, this is somewhere in the like middle bottom, in the
Yeah.
like rare common area, probably more in the rare area, because it did see some success, just not consistently. Um, what do you think?
So I liked Vandar. I mean, I think that this was a bit cooler than Drekthar in terms of a fun level,
Yeah,
just because the effect like was definitely less consistently strong and took more work to make happen. And you could do fun things, but those fun things weren't broken enough to justify the cost. So we
yeah,
didn't see Vandar a lot. And I think especially like in the pre-Alterac times and even in Alterac, it was really difficult to make him work. But there were those big hunter decks was actually the deck that I played to I think top 500 with Vandar in Alterac for ladder. So he wasn't terrible. You
Yeah.
certainly could do good stuff with him. And I really enjoyed Big Demon Hunter with him after Voyage came out because Abyssal Deaths, Vandar, and Finley was a very cool combo you could do. And that was actually really neat for like getting Big Demon Hunter online a little faster. And it was great. My favorite memory of this card, though, is from THL. We had
Really?
a stream match where a certain 550 PR player, who we will not name on stream, used Moonlit Guidance to discover Vandar and played his green Vandar on turn 3 to lose the game. And it was powerful. Like, uh,
Okay.
like that's a card that makes a story. And, you know, I think, I think Vandar at least like it's high rare for me. Like there's just so many like kind of cool deck building ideas that it can prompt, and it was not like meta defining or top tier in the meta, but it was strong enough to contend. And I think that level of fun goes for rare. Like
Okay.
Vandar is my boy.
All right. Middle rare.
Yeah, middle rare is perfect.
Okay. Next up, Blademaster Okani. 4 mana, 2/6 Battlecry. Secretly choose to counter the next minion or spell your opponent plays while this is alive. So you get the choice, minion or spell. Um, what are your initial thoughts on Okani?
Instant signature.
Really? Okay, so that was one of
Super
them.
powerful,
I
super
I would
fun.
not have
Best
said signature, but
Okani would probably be my number one here if I had to pick. Okani is like maybe one or two. There's two cards here that I think kind of are close in contention for my number one. And I think Okani just is like not just like the perfect like one of these free legendaries, but I think that his design is like the perfect one for a Hearthstone legendary. Like I think he takes advantage of the digital medium of the game perfectly. Secretly choosing is a total pain in a physical game, and you can just do it seamlessly in Hearthstone. Being able to actually engage your opponent and make them think differently about their turn because of this card, and being able to choose either for the mind game or to take away their most powerful play is a really neat sort of thing. And it's an type of interaction that isn't typical in most Hearthstone games. Like I just
now
love this card. It's
now
so cool.
I'm not going to disagree with you on anything you just said, but I have a massive problem with this card.
Does it say counter?
No. That's actually not it, believe it or not. This card should not have been released as the free legendary for this set because it was too freaking boring for a free legendary.
You think it should have been Phelan?
I think it should have been Phelan. Phelan was the perfect free legendary for this set. He was the mascot for the set. He would have let you play at with the Colossals early. Um, it, he was more like emblematic of the set and the themes. Um, I think this card is great. I no digs on the card at all. But
Okay.
when it comes to choosing like the free set legendary, I think out of all of the ones that we have, this is the most boring for a like free initial legendary. It's not the most boring card on here, but like when we get these free legendaries before like a month or 3 weeks whatever before the set releases, they
So
typically are either like allow you to do something different with gameplay, allowing you to kind of thinking of like Renathal or um, um, etc, allowing you to do something like vastly different with your decks and kind of like change the way you can build a deck in these like last final few weeks before this new set comes out. giving you a little taste of some of the different mechanics and themes of what you're going to be able to play with. And Okani, I feel like could have just been put into like it's a good card, but it could have just been put into any set. It could have very well been received as a very good card as just a neutral legendary in the set. So
I I agree with all your points, but counter argument, or not really counter argument, but more of why they did what they did. So, if you remember in 2022, Hearthstone Esports was not skeleton zombie esports, but was still going full swing.
yeah,
And they decided they were going to do a little trolling when they did these pre-expansion cards, and these came out right before the Masters tour.
yeah,
And they decided that they were going to make the tour a little spicy and inject Okani into the metagame just before as a little bit of a shakeup, along with a balance patch. So I think that they probably decided to err on the side of caution and give the more competitive card so that it would likely see some screen time, which I think makes sense. They also did give us Phelan for free, just actually when Voyage came out.
yeah.
The
Well,
it was the login reward on the free battle pass.
that doesn't
So
count.
yeah,
Doesn't
I know.
count.
I do agree with you, but I think that Okani being there for the Masters tour kind of made sense. But I'm signature then. Where are you, Mako? Where are we going?
I'm fine with that. Um, I just have so many gripes with this one because I always get excited for the free legendary because I'm like, oh, it's gonna, you know, all of these, well, most of, okay, not all of them, most of these cards do some shaking up, and then Okani, I was just like, man, I I was never like less excited for a free legendary than when Okani hit. Um,
Yeah,
it could have even been Finley. Like
I agree.
Finley would have been more perfect, I think. Like that would have been like pristine free legendary for that set.
Yeah, I think they could have done Finley. I think that Voyage was just a good set though
It was. I
from a
just
design perspective.
this was not for me when it comes to like this set, but we're not judging them on that those criteria. So, um, next up, this is my number one, Prince Renathal. Your deck size is 40. Your starting health is, well, it used to also be 40, but now it is 35, and it's a 3 mana 3/4. This is my number one. I love big decks.
Yeah, Renethal is very cool. And you know, I do say that every card that says start of game on it is probably a mistake. And well, they cheated a little with Renethal because it doesn't say it for some reason. But I I think this was another big metagame shakeup. So right
Oh,
before
yeah.
the Masters Tour, Renethal became an option and made everything nuts. And definitely was brought a lot of a dimension to Hearthstone. Love or hate the 40 health. You know, I think 35 is more healthy, but just this option to pack 10 more cards in your deck if, it somehow isn't a downside is cool. Like Quest Priest honestly would have played Renathal, I think, even without the health boost, which is a little crazy sounding, but at 30 cards, Priest wasn't able to have the right ratios in their deck to consistently hit their curve out to get to the purified shard. And with 40, they were. And that was really neat, where the 40 card aspect just on its own was helpful. And we saw it in Hyper Control too. Plus, that extra health buffer, I think, made Hearthstone feel just a little bit slower and more comfortable for a certain type of player. And yeah, Renathal was neat for all those reasons. He was the other one I was talking about when I said there's one or two
Yeah.
like in that top echelon, and I think him and Okani are somewhere duking it out for that spot.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we're in agreement for signature then.
Oh, absolutely.
It just where? I'm
I
I'm
would put
I'm a left. It sounds like you're gonna be a right.
I'm a right, but it's like extremely close. I don't think there are any two cards on this list that are closer.
Okay.
So I'm
Then I'm
good if you want to go left.
I'm
That's
breaking it.
totally all right. Cool.
All right. Next up we have the Sunwell. 9 mana holy spell. Fill your hand with random spells. Cost 1 less for each other card in your hand. This is fun to discover in Death Knight.
I played it in my Death Knight list.
Yeah, it's I don't know, like I have mixed feelings on the Sunwell. Um, it felt like it got better over time. When it was originally released, I don't think it didn't feel like it was played that much in those like coming weeks up until release of the set. Um, but as time went has gone on, it feels like the card has got like I've seen it played more and more. Rarely ever straight from deck. It's usually always discovered off something from my experience, and but when it is discovered off something, it does feel powerful.
Yeah, I mean, this was pretty much a tech option. I think Bless Priest is the only deck I can think of that was like widely accepted as meta that ran this. And in I was running this in Blood Death Knight, and I think it was correct, but not a widely adopted thing. And discovering this card was I don't know, as someone else would put it, this is fucking bullshit. You can't just discover this card. I hate it so much, and it ruined so many games. You have this nice back and forth, this battle of resources, and somehow the Demon Hunter, when the Relic Demon Hunter is out of gas, they've discovered a Sunwell off of Nerubian Vizier, and the game is screwed. Watcher of the Sun makes a Sunwell. Uh-oh. It's going a little crazy. And I think that just because this was a card people were so unwilling to put in their decks to, kind of try to build around, but also it was just this weird get out of jail free card that you would just
Yeah.
find off discovers. It was just not a favorite of mine. This is, I think, bottom of basic or bottom of common or basic for me.
Uh, to me, this feels closer to the epic rare range.
Wow. I
If we look at the cards like in those tiers, um, like even though the Sunwell feels at its most powerful when you discover it, it feels powerful. Um, I don't think it's a bad card. Um, I just think
I
people don't
I I
want to
think it's a
play it.
pretty bad card. I do like on balance. I think it's most of these cards
I
don't
think
outright suck, but I think it's like
I think it's a
probably between.
balanced card. Like I don't think it's bad. I think it's just balanced. But it was too balanced. Like it's not like it was balanced and it not good enough to be like just put into a lot of decks. But discovering it still like I would rather I would rather discover a Sunwell than run a Marin. I would rather in my deck play Sunwell than Vandar or Lady Prestor. They felt stronger. It felt more consistent. I would go for common. There's no freaking way it's basic if Marin's in common.
Well, I think that like I said, I think that Sunwell's stronger than Marin for sure. I just think Marin was actually kind of fun, and I don't think Sunwell ever sparked any joy in me other than, gee, this is reload sometimes. I guess it belongs in the deck, or gee, I can discover this and get out of a game that I really had no business doing so with. I think like if you want to put it in rare, I think it's at the absolute bottom, or we can even go common above Marin. But
Mm,
like I just don't I think that on a power level perspective, it's so from the ones so far on the list, it's only above Marin, and I think that for fun, I have it near the bottom. So we can haggle a
That's
little bit.
fair. Let's do bottom of common.
Sure, sure. Somewhere with Marin, but not
Yeah.
super important where.
Next up, 4 mana 4/4 ETC Band Manager. While building your deck, assemble a band of 3 cards. Battle Cry, discover one. I love ETC.
Yeah, and
He's
I
such a
do too.
good, consistent card. He's so well designed. I love everything about this card.
I do as well, and this is my third signature, I think. This is the
I,
last
I,
one I would put up
I'm,
there.
I'm with you. I'm with you on this. To be fair,
Yeah, just I think that the cool like variety of options we've seen in deck building from letting you have those more niche tech pieces to doubling up on Reno pieces that are important to being able to recur this to get multiple cards out, like we've seen with Priest, even Rogue on rare occasion, and then more so in Wild with Quest Mage.
yeah.
ETC just has had so many uses, and I don't think we've found all of the ones that he'll have before his time at Standard is up. Just a really, really interesting design. Power level is just high enough for it to see wide play, and it's just yeah, super cool. I think signature, but like at the bottom.
I'm fine with that. Next up, one of my favorites. Uh, Prison of Yogg Saron, 7 mana location with 3 durability. Choose a character, cast 4 random spells targeting it if possible. This is a legendary for me. I think
I'll
it's
say f- I'll say fine just because of power level, but man, this card is frustrating.
why? I think it's fun too.
Mm, I think that I think fun is subjective,
Yeah,
but I can say that I have won a lot of games I shouldn't have and have lost a lot of games I should have won because Prison of Yogg-Saron on turn 7 decides to do something silly and make the previous 6 turns irrelevant.
correct.
But,
Fun.
there's always that question of what's in the box.
Exactly.
And
Which is
sometimes you got
fun.
to find out. So I'm
Which
not
is
going to
fun.
push back on legendary, but man, this card has gone both ways for me.
Yes,
Like
which is fun.
yeah.
It makes me I miss the box. Like I really do. I want my 10 mana mage spell back.
Yeah, I think
Ugh,
puzzle box was a little bit more balanced than this one.
ugh,
I think I
yeah,
think if a puzzle box this is when I'm playing with Prison of Yogg-Saron, I feel like I'm playing some chess with my opponent beforehand. And
yeah.
then someone pulls a rock out of their pocket and throws it at the board.
Yeah.
And but they're not very
I
good at throwing.
yes.
And sometimes it hits sometimes they crush their own king and they look like a fool and other times man, there goes my board.
Well, if
It's
you play against me in THL and you play Prison of Yogg-Saron, you're guaranteed to just hit the best spells you need in that scenario. So,
yeah. I mean, I think for my matches, I had two matches or two games. I think that were pretty largely determined by the Prison of Yogg-Saron, and well, I think on both sides, somebody was in the 99th percentile for good luck. So, but it was 50-50 for who was
love
on
it.
each side. So,
Love it.
it's there.
Love it. Next up, this to me is the most basic ass of basics. And I know you're going to disagree with me, and I'm okay with that. But Thunderbringer, wrapping it back around to the 8 mana 6/6. Taunt, Death Rattle, summon an elemental and beast from your deck. And Thunderbringer is also an elemental beast.
Yeah,
This boring ass, not very strong,
I
forces
mean
you.
it.
I don't know. I don't like
It's
this card.
decently strong. I think it probably goes in rare to me below
It's
Vandar or
super
at the bottom.
inconsistent.
I mean, it's consistent enough. There are playable decks that have run it and actual tiered decks that have too. Like Big Beast Hunter and what is it? Mining Rogue have both run this to decent success.
Yeah, the
And
big rug.
well, I mean, even just regular Mining Rogue nowadays
Yeah,
has played this as just another card to hit if you instead of Drilly as a high roll.
yeah.
So, like, I think that it's definitely not it's definitely not as strong as any of the cards that are in Epic or above. But I think that there's enough of a deck building puzzle and enough power level there that I couldn't put it on the same level as Marin and Sunwell. So I think rare is like the right spot.
All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Last one. Uh, Hearth Stonebrew, 6 mana, 5/5. Battle cry. Replace your hand with an iconic one from Hearthstone's past, once per game. And we don't know what these are. So
Well, we aren't entirely
I know.
clueless.
Yeah, we got
We
little hints.
we've gotten a little hint from Mr. Uh Mr. Gallon, which we
Yep.
appreciate. And he may have mentioned on X.com that Grim Patron, Skull of the Minari, and Shutterwalk are pretty iconic cards. So that's a bit of a teaser toward what we maybe can be looking for with this.
You think we're gonna get like oh what are the names? The one that with Skull. What was that deck called?
Carnivorous Cube, Void Lords, like
Yeah,
Cube Lock is what
yeah.
you're thinking of,
We're gonna
right?
get yeah. We're gonna get Q block hands.
I'm sure we're gonna get Cube Lock hands. I'm sure that if there was ever some like crazy Mozaki lethal or combo that happened in an MT on the big stage, I think we'll get something like that.
Are we gonna get the freeze mage combo from mage?
I hope so. That would be enjoyable. As for power level speculation though, I think that this card will swing pretty wildly, but the highest of highs will be very high and the lowest of lows will probably not be so good. Because I think
S-
like in the decks that will play this, there'll be sometimes you just jam it on 6 and win the next turn if you have Warsong Commander and Patrons.
yeah.
And then there will be other decks where you jam this and you get this like Shutter Walk combo that you can't do for a few turns and your hand's awkward. So I don't know. I really don't know what to make of this, but I like the design because, well, assuming it's not going to be competitive, I'm going to
Yeah.
assume that we're not going to be playing this one in tournaments, but it's a cool card. And when someone who's either newer to the game or at least not as well versed in the history plays this card and gets a hand, I hope they Google it, look on YouTube or something, and try to figure out why. And I think it's like kind of cool to, have a card itself that teaches players about like the history of the game and sort of what's going on. It's
Yeah.
like a neat time capsule.
As far as a ranking goes, I don't think we rank this just because there's we have nothing to go off of.
Screw it. Fill out the curve. It's an epic.
Okay, sure. Why the hell not? Do you have
Boom.
any
Perfect.
vetoes you want to use?
Yeah, I'd like to send Drekthar to epic.
Okay.
That's my veto. I'm sending Drekthar to epic
Where
below
an epic?
Vargoth.
Okay.
Chef's kiss.
Okay. I don't I actually don't think I have. No, you know what? I'm going to make one singular move and it's just because you already know what it's going to be. And it's just because it's bothering me. It is bothering me that there's nothing in basic. So I'm gonna just use one move to just do that. I can't have nothing in basic. It's too empty. uh, okay. Well, this is
Yeah.
the list.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a cool one.
yeah, I like this topic. Um, we'll be curious to see what that looks like tomorrow. Um, I myself am gonna log out here and log into Hearthstone because I have not been playing in a minute, and I still haven't even gotten the signature Kobold miners yet, and I have until tomorrow. So I'm gonna be doing that. So that's gonna be fucking fun. But yeah, we will be back. I don't. Well, let me think for a second. Pause. So the new season of the next season of THL will start probably about a week or so after set release, and if the set release is in this, let's say second week of March, just for shits and giggles. So we'll be back in like a little over a month ish. I'm
Yeah.
just guessing.
So you guys heard it here. According to Mako, the set comes out on March 12th, and if it doesn't, just make sure to
I
DM him so he can fix it with Blizzard.
the word 12 did not come out of my mouth
I
at
mean, he
all.
said it, not me.
Is that even a Tuesday?
It is the Tuesday. I checked.
Oh, okay. Yep. You know what? Fuck it. March 12th, set
Yeah.
release. I'm calling it right now. Do you think we're gonna
Confirmed.
get? Do you think we're gonna get the set announcement tomorrow?
I don't think so. I think they're going to focus on the anniversary for now, and they'll announce the announcement.
So for like, you think next? I think probably next week at the very latest.
I think that they're going to announce the announcement, and then we'll get the announcement on Thursday.
Oh, okay. You think sooner? Okay.
It's going to be Thursday or Friday, if I had to guess.
All right. Alrighty. Well, one final thing. We need one more hero captain. So if anyone is interested in captaining hero, we need Uno Mas. So, if you are that Uno Mas, then shoot me a message because we are in need. We are at a pretty odd number right now. So, one more would very tidy things up. So,
We
uh,
need the hero by the end of the night, guys. Come on.
well, yeah, we'll say by the end of the night. Definitely, probably by like Sunday, but by the end of the night, sure. Um, all right. With that being said, we will see you in a little over a month. Until then, take care and happy birthday. Happy Hearthstone birthday and your actual birthday too. I don't fucking know.
It's my birthday on Friday, so
Is it
thank you. I
really?
appreciate it. Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. Well, then there you go. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.